Hey guys, Roman and Reaper here, outside the cinema here, wearing the Batman t-shirt, so yep, that means one thing, new DC, and a very anticipated one at that. That's a joke, by the way, because it's Shazam, Fury of the Gods. I am kind of looking forward to this, to be fair. I do really like the first Shazam. It's a very charming and funny comedy, and, you know, the trailers for this look a lot of fun, even if I do have a little concern that I will express later on, but I'm excited to see the returning Zachary Levi as the character, and you know, maybe even for one last time, given that James Gunn is rebooting the whole thing. So you know, that's enough for me. I'm gonna head in, get my snacks, get my seat, and watch the Fury of the Gods. So I've got my popcorn here and a red frozen Fanta to match Shazam's suit, obviously. I need to see what the gods are so furious about. So yeah, just back from seeing Shazam Fury of the Gods, the sequel to 2019's Shazam, which, as I stated earlier, I really enjoyed, and actually rewatched the other day in prep for this one, and yeah, it's held up extremely well. It's a charming, human scale story, but real hard. It's also not afraid to go dark. So naturally I was looking forward to seeing the sequel, but I also had this sort of concern in the back of my mind that, you know, in going big like they've promised, have they lost sight of what made the first film work so well? Let's see if they have or not. So Shazam Fury of the Gods sees Billy Batson on the cusp of aging out of the foster system, and because of this, he's desperately trying to keep the Shazam family together, but they're all off, you know, wanting to do their own thing. Until their family dynamic is put to the test when the daughters of Atlas come to Earth seeking the wizard's powers that they believe were wrongfully stolen from them, and they will go to extreme lengths to get them back. So, with Shazam Fury of the Gods, you know, bigger, louder, explodier, more actionier, you know, that's sort of the sequel way, and with that in mind, I actually did enjoy Fury of the Gods. Obviously, it is not as good as the first, but to its credit, is a genuinely very enjoyable, really fun film. There's plenty to enjoy here, like not least in the fact that it maintains the charm of the first way more than you'd expect. And in fact, to its credit, at its best, it works really well when it is focusing in on this. Like notably, Billy's whole arc of not wanting to lose like everything around him as he ages out of his the foster system, and it's a sort of a really strong through line here of having to grow up and that fear of losing everything around you you know as that happens. It's handled really well, and Asher Angel and Zachary Levi sell it very well. There's a lot less of Asher Angel here. The focus is more on Billy's like adult superhero form, and yeah, Zachary Levi's steps up and sells it really well. And to his credit, they toned down his shtick here, so that disconnect between the two is a lot less apparent. Don't get me wrong, he's still lovable and goofy, but you can definitely tell he's toned down here. And in regards to the rest of the family, between their kid forms and their adult forms, there's no real disconnect. You can actually believe that these are the adult versions of the younger characters. Most notably, Adam Brody as adult Freddy. He's a lot of fun, and he has real passion for this material. You can tell because Fun fact: he was nearly Flash in George Miller's cancelled Justice League film. So a little bit of irrelevant DC trivia there. But yeah, Adam Brody's really good here, and yeah, so is Jack Dylan Grazer, and probably the film's best strand, and I guess sort of like romantic subplot of sorts involving him and Rachel Zegler's new character Anthea. It's really charming. They have real chemistry, and it's just delightful. And it's also a reminder that Rachel Zegler right now is kind of one to watch. And to the film's credit as well, it's also pretty funny. It's nowhere near as like funny as the first one, where the first one very consistently hit this comedic high. The first, yeah, the second one doesn't quite manage that, but there's still a consistent amount of decent gags here. Some that are, I would actually say, I genuinely found really funny. My particular favorite being this really like straight deadpan reading from Helen Mirren of this like inherently really goofy letter. You'll know it when you see it. It's very funny. And yeah, then there's the sort of thing I had concerns about, going big, and it mostly manages it. Like the action here is very entertaining to watch. Don't get me wrong; it's super fun, and it mostly doesn't fall into that trap of just mindless special effects superhero stuff that just draws out to the point of being deadening. It does kind of succumb to that in the final act. Unfortunately, with this like citywide destruction and a dragon flying around and a big weighty serious battle stuff, that's really where my issue lies in that going big, which is really my concern. You know, when it like feels it has to be kind of weighty, serious, and leaning into this epic mythology. That's where it kind of like it loses me a bit because I was really enjoying it, seeing more small scale, charming human stuff. But don't get me wrong, the film, this being a Shazam film, they do lean into some very weird stuff in a very big way. Not least a talking pen named Steve. It's a very funny gag. Also, in regards to the bigger scale stuff, the score actually helps maintain a consistent tone with the first as well. With Benjamin Wallfish, of course, couldn't return for this one, so Christoph Beck, the composer of the Ant-Man films, steps in his place and does a decent job of sort of replicating this sort of 80s kids movie prosperous feel the score has, and does it very well. And it means that it does keep the action kind of with a lightness of touch, even when it is being big and bombastic, a dragon flying around. Works mostly well. Although the CGI here, holy hell, at times is pretty terrible. There's some pretty sloppy green screens, and I gotta say, at times the dragon does look a bit like something out of a PlayStation 3 cutscene. Don't get me wrong, there's shots that do look decent, but it's kind of hit or miss. More hit than miss, man. Considering this is Weta Digital after all, learned sitting through the credits, but yeah, there are times it definitely doesn't look as good, and it's especially noticeable after after Avatar: The Way of Water came and blew everyone's perceptions of CGI out of the water again. Um, there's a fairly fun soundtrack here. You're not prepared for what the credits song is, but you will love it, trust me. Oh yeah, there is one more thing I gotta talk about, and that is the cameo. Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. Like the fact that Warner Bros. Actively felt the need to spoil something that should in theory be a really big secret, and just proudly show it in the marketing. And after having seen the film, it is a spoiler. Trust me, it's not like just a sort of throwaway thing that you can just kind of casually put in there. There is genuinely proper spoilery reason as to why it is in there, and of course, Warner's being desperate as they are because no one's seeing this film. They just threw it in there carelessly, and yeah, I've not really got too much more to say about Fury of the Gods. Oh yeah, I mentioned earlier that yeah, you know, it sort of lost me at being big, weighty, and serious. But the Daughters of Atlas themselves are actually pretty good villains. Like they're obviously not like going to be the most memorable, much like Doctor Savannah in the first film, but they are like genuinely enjoyable for the screen time they have. I mentioned Rachel Zegler earlier as being very charming, and Helen Mirren is like really great, playing it very straight and sort of being the one with like a logical head on her shoulders. And Lucy Liu does a very good job being like sort of quite emotionally distant and aloof, and so when she goes to lengths, yeah, she's not really concerned with the moral and emotional implications of it. Yeah, they're pretty entertaining villains all around, and Shazam: Fury of the Gods is an entertaining film all around. It's not as good as the first, and and Going Big does somewhat lose the charm of the first, but it maintains enough of it that it is genuinely enjoyable and has plenty of and has plenty of laughs, and you'll probably have a good time with it. Overall, 7 out of 10. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. There are two extra scenes to say for. The first one is very, very funny, and the second one's more serious. But they do sort of leave us with a little hint that this might not be the end for Shazam. Fingers crossed. But that this probably will be, given no one's seeing this film. And yeah, that's all I've got to say. Let me know down in the comments, have you seen Fury of the Gods? What did you think of it? Would you like to see more of this character going forward in James Gunn's new universe? Let me know all that down in the comments. Don't forget the thumbs up button if you enjoyed. Don't forget the subscribe button if you're new. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload.